Hi, I'm Diane Hendericks and welcome to Fresh to Frozen and Back. This show is going to make your life easier. In each episode, I'll show you how to prepare delicious and better for you meals, how to freeze them properly so you can bring them back to the table at a later date. This show is all about creamy, comfortable pasta dishes. I love pasta. I don't eat it a lot. I eat it, in moderation because it can be very high in calories in a large quantity. A serving of pasta is this much, and that's about 100 calories. So you just got to keep your eye on how much pasta you actually eat, but it's delicious and it's extremely comforting, especially in cold nights, but I eat it year round. So the first dish I have is creamy pasta with green beans and sun-dried tomatoes and shrimp. It is so yummy, and here's all you do. Okay, so I'm gonna heat up some olive oil in a pan. And I use extra virgin olive oil because I love that rich olive flavor and it's so good. And then I'm going to add some onions and some garlic. So while that's heating, I'm just gonna show you a trick to cutting an onion. I'm gonna keep the little knob on the end. I cut it and then I peel it after I cut it. It makes it a lot easier to peel it after it's been cut. I love onions. They're packed with vitamin C. They're so delicious and I just love the flavor. Actually, I have two sons and they're huge onion people. I'm a fan of sweet onions, like Vidalia onions. I just love the flavor of them and I use them in most dishes. So I'm just gonna kind of go horizontally after I've peeled it because I want little dices. And then I'm just gonna go straight down here and do the same thing here because I already went horizontally. Now, just this way, you get exact dices that you need. And then I'll just go this way. I don't like to waste anything and just go right around the onion. So good. And I'm a crier with onions. I think that might be one of the reasons why I like the sweet ones because they don't bother me as much. I've tried every trick in the book. Every time I do a live cooking event, I'm like, what do you do to keep from crying with onions? Red in the mouth, goggles, you name it, but it doesn't work for me. Okay, so now we have the onions all ready, and we're going to add them to the pan. Ah, you want to hear that? Then we're going to add the garlic, and I have some chopped garlic, and actually garlic freezes great. All right, so we have onions and garlic in this pan, and now what I'm going to add is some sun-dried tomatoes that I had chopped. I love the flavor of sun-dried tomatoes, but the beauty of cooking on top of the stove is if you don't like sun-dried tomatoes, don't put it in. If you don't want onions, don't use it. Use whatever you like because it's not like it has to be a perfection like a souffle or something. Just use what you like. I have a combination of parsley, basil, oregano, and marjoram. Delicious. And that's just gonna cook up. And I'm going to add the green beans. So what I did with the green beans is I cut them like this. So I took green beans, I trimmed the ends off and sliced them little teeny tiny little rings. It really just, it changes it. I don't know, for some reason when green beans are cut in like 2-inch pieces, it just seems clunky to me. So this is nice and everything's about the same size. Okay. So we're just gonna let this cook a little bit. And as it cooks, the beans are gonna get bright. The color's gonna brighten up a little bit. Oh, so good. Okay, now I'm gonna add some chicken broth. You can use vegetable broth if you'd like. I'm just gonna add a little bit. And that's going to tenderize those green beans. So while that's getting ready, I'm gonna prep the shrimp. Now, I have shrimp. These are 1620s, nice size. I love them. But again, when I'm cooking something like this, I don't want a big whole shrimp. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna cut them in half. Now think about it. The tail of the shrimp does not have as much meat as the opposite end of the shrimp. So what I do is I go almost 3/4 of the way. So you get the same amount even though you're not cutting it directly in half. And it's a really good, it's nice when you're eating pasta and you get like a piece of shrimp rather than this big whole shrimp. Shrimp cocktail, that's another story. I want like the biggest ones I could possibly get. I love it. So I'm gonna clean up these shrimp, turn this up just a little bit. And this is such a nice meal. And if you don't want to use green beans, you don't have to. This is great with broccoli. You just have to realize the cooking time of your vegetables. So like the green beans are gonna take a little bit longer than if you had chopped broccoli. So just, you try not to overcook your veggies. And this shrimp, it's going in at the end because it only takes like 2 minutes to cook shrimp. Once it turns pink, it's ready to go. Okay, so that's enough of that. Now, okay, so this is cooked. I mean, the green beans are softening up. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of crushed red pepper. This is so simple. Little crushed red, for me, I love crushed red pepper. I put it in just about everything. A nice pinch of coarse salt. Some little bit of black pepper. It has a totally different flavor than the red chilies, the crushed red. And that's looking good. So now I'm going to take a little bit of either flour or cornstarch and just sprinkle it a little bit across the top. And what that's gonna do, it's gonna help the milk thicken up a little bit. So, and you only need just a teeny tiny bit. Okay, so that's ready to go. Now what I have here is I have cooked pasta. I'm using spaghetti because the other two dishes, one has small shells and the other one's tortellini, so I thought like a long spaghetti. You can use any type of pasta that you like. So I'm going to this is the last two ingredients that I have here is I have some milk. You can use heavy cream, you can use whipping cream, you can use half and half, whatever you like. I'm just using regular milk. That's why I added that little bit of flour to help thicken it up a little bit. Okay, so that's ready to go. Now I'm going to put the shrimp in. And that's gonna cook up in 2 minutes. And this will take just about maybe 2 to 3 minutes to start to turn pink. Because then the next thing that we're doing is all I'm gonna be adding is some milk, some Parmesan cheese, some freshly grated Parmigiano Reggiano, and the pasta. And then you have yourself this hearty, delicious dish. Okay, so that's good. Now I'm gonna add the milk. Oh, it's so yummy. And with that tiny little bit of cornstarch, that's gonna thicken this up so it's like a really hearty and comforting meal. And if you feel like it's not thick enough, you can just add a little bit more cornstarch to some milk, or you can use a little bit of half and half, whatever you like. So that's cooking. I'm gonna let that cook for like 2 minutes, and then we're going to add the pasta and the cheese, and then we have this delicious dish. Okay, oh my gosh, this smells so good. Okay, so now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add a little bit of Parmesan cheese to the shrimp and the beans and milk mixture. Get that all incorporated in there. Then we're gonna toss in the pasta and then finish it off with a little bit more of the Parmesan cheese. So I'm gonna dump in the pasta. Whoop. It's a little pan for all that pasta, but that's okay. Oh my gosh. So yummy. Now I'm gonna let that cook just a little bit, and then I'm just gonna plate it. And while this is kind of simmering down and warming up, because this pasta was cold because I had already made it. Okay, now this looks amazing. And it smells so good. Got a little straggler there. Okay, so now let's plate it. Okay, I have this pretty dish. Oh, I wanna add a little bit more of the Parmesan, like I said. And again, if you want anything else in here, you can add it. Fresh basil would be good. Any type of vegetable that you like, but it's hearty and it's delicious. Check this out. Look at this. Oh my. Oh my. They've got green beans. You'll be able to taste the sun-dried tomatoes and the green beans with the shrimp. Oh my gosh, and the cream and the cheese. It's so good. And then another pinch, and you got yourself a beautiful, beautiful, comforting meal. Okay, so when we come back, I am going to make macaroni and cheese with cauliflower using equal parts cauliflower to equal parts pasta. It's so good, you don't want to miss it. See you in a minute. Okay, mac and cheese with cauliflower. It's a really great way to bulk up mac and cheese and still get that comforty, cheesy goodness, but half of it is made with cauliflower. So here's all you do. All right, so first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna put some extra virgin olive oil in a pan. I'm gonna make a roux, but I use olive oil instead of butter. So what I have is extra virgin olive oil in the pan. I'm gonna heat that up just a little bit. Get it nice and hot, and then I'm gonna add some flour. And what we're gonna do here is thicken up this flour with this fat so that I can add some liquid and get a nice creamy consistency. So again, I have extra virgin olive oil and flour. Oh, yummy. And that's starting to cook up. You wanna stay on top of it so you don't have any lumps. We don't want any lumps in here. Oh, so good. I love the smell of extra virgin olive oil. It smells so good. Okay, just a little hit more, only because I can feel it. The recipes you can find on my website, DianeHendericks.com. Oh, there we go. Now that's ready to go. So what I'm gonna do now is I'm going to add a little milk. A little bit at a time, thicken it up. Oh, and you can see that it's all thick. So once you get the hang of it, the key is to not get any lumps. There we go. I'm gonna turn this heat down a bit. Oh, yum. And this is just the way that I make mac and cheese. I mean, my 19-year-old, Derek, is like the master at the cheese sauce. It's so good, it's so easy, so yummy. Okay, I'm gonna add a nice hefty pinch of salt, good pinch of black pepper. Now we have a nice thickness, no lumps, and what I'm going to do now is I'm going to add the cheese. This is so quick and simple. Okay, so now I'm going to add, this is extra sharp shredded cheddar cheese. I'm gonna stir that into there and it's going to melt. And what I have here is I have cauliflower that I have chopped up and just blanched very quickly. So it's nice and soft, and I like it in little tiny pieces because I want it like almost the size of the pasta that I'm using. So I'm using shells. Okay, this is nice and melty. This is so simple and so good. Oh, yummy. You want that cheese to get nice and melty. I'm gonna add a little hit of Parmesan because I just love it, can't help it. And now I'm going to add the pasta. I'm not gonna use all of that. That's okay. So we're gonna stir that pasta up in here and get all the flavors in there. I like to use the shells because the shells themselves kind of get like, they make like little pockets for the cheese to fall in. Oh my gosh, yum. Now I'm gonna add another little hit of milk. You can tell when you're feeling it out. So I'm gonna add a little bit of milk and then we're just gonna stir this up a little bit. I just wanted it to loosen up slightly because I still have all that cauliflower to add. Okay, oh boy. Yum. And then all we're doing now is I'm adding the cauliflower, equal parts. And we're just gonna stir that up. Oh my gosh, yum. And it just has such a nice flavor. It's so warm, it's so comfy. This is a really great way to get your kids to eat more vegetables because they won't even notice the cauliflower in there. It's so yummy. Okay, and it's as simple as that. So here's what we're gonna do. Take a baking dish, I'm gonna spray it with the extra virgin olive oil spray so it doesn't stick so much. It's easier to clean. Turn this off and turn this out into this pan. Oh, come on. Can't go wrong with that. Look at that. Cheesy, cauliflower, pasta. You can't go wrong here. And there, add a little bit more of that cheese sauce on the top. Now, for me, this would be okay because I'm not a big fan of breaded topping, but that won't work in my household, especially when my kids are home. So what I'm gonna do is I'm going to take some breadcrumbs. You can use seasoned or unseasoned. This is a combination of seasoned breadcrumbs and plain panko. And then I'm gonna add some Parmesan cheese to it, mix it all together, and some olive oil. So what I'm gonna do is put some olive oil in there and get that all in there because that olive oil is gonna help it brown. Look at that, and you can see that it's starting to become like you wanna get all of the breadcrumbs wet. And then I'll just pop this right on top. Oh, yum. And this is gonna get all brown and crispy. I'm the one that doesn't like the crispy parts. When it comes to different dishes, I'm like, no, everybody's fighting over the crispy parts and I like the mushy stuff. And then I'm just gonna pop this in the oven. Think about it, it's all cooked already. All we're doing is browning and warming. So I'm gonna pop this in the oven at 350 for about 20 to 25 minutes and I have one done for you. Look at that. It's all bubbly and yummy and, oh, let me show you. Actually, I'll do it, let it cool down a minute and then I'm going to show this to you when we look at everything at the end. So let me put this over here. And what I love about this particular dish is once it's done, you just put the lid on it and you can put it right in your refrigerator. There you go. And there's that. When we come back, I'm going to make a spinach and chicken tortellini creamy soup that you're gonna love. See you in a minute. Okay, creamy tortellini chicken soup with spinach and water chestnuts and nutmeg. It's so good. And here's all you do. Okay, so we're gonna turn on this stove here and we are going to heat up some olive oil because we're gonna cook up some veggies. You don't need a lot. There's 125 calories in a tablespoon of olive oil. Olive oil is very good for you, but just keep in mind how much you actually use and how much you need, because once it hits the pan, the more liquid it's gonna get. So you could spread it across your pan and then you won't use as much. And it's always good for finishing. I'd rather finish it off with a little bit of olive oil than have it all already in there. Okay, so we're going to do celery, onions, and some grated carrots. You don't have to grate them, you can dice them if you want, but I kind of like the way they are grated. And then we're gonna cook that up. Okay, and I'm gonna add some garlic now. Of course, you gotta have garlic. Now, when it comes to garlic, if you buy a whole bunch of garlic at one time, like I'll buy like a whole big bunch of garlic. I'll peel it all, and then I'll stick it in my food processor, and I have this mass of minced garlic. Lay it on an even layer in a baking sheet, freeze it, and then pull it out of the freezer when it's frozen solid, stick it in a Ziploc bag, and anytime you need some garlic, you just break off a piece and throw it in your pan. It is so convenient. Okay, oh, yummy. Now, I'm going to add a little bit of chicken broth to this, or vegetable broth, but I'm gonna use chicken broth since I have chicken in the dish. Just a little for now. And that's gonna help soften the veggies. And now we're just gonna add some other ingredients. So I'm going to add a few sprigs of fresh thyme. In our family, it was always funny because in soups and stuff, I just throw the whole thing in, you wash it and throw it in. And we always would see who would get the bay leaf and who would get the thyme sprig. It was just kind of funny. Okay, so we have fresh thyme, and thyme goes beautifully with this. Water chestnuts. I made this once and I didn't have any frozen spinach, but I had creamed spinach at home that I had made. And I had made this soup before with just the frozen spinach, and then when I made it with the creamed spinach, I was like, oh my gosh, that is so good. So what I did was I updated the recipe and put all the ingredients that I have in creamed spinach in this soup dish, and it really makes a big difference. So I put water chestnuts in my creamed spinach, so I chopped them up nice and small. It gives it a nice crunch. Nutmeg, which is a key for creamed spinach. Love it. And a little bit of cream cheese. So we're gonna put that in there and we're just gonna stir this up until the cream cheese gets incorporated in with this mixture. Because again, we're doing creamy comfort foods. So good, oh my gosh. If you could smell this, you wouldn't believe it. Just the combination of the cream cheese with the thyme and the vegetables and the garlic and oh, so good. Okay. Then, this is it's one of the simplest dishes. So now what we're gonna do is I'm gonna hit this up a little bit and I'm gonna take a little bit of flour, just like I did with the green bean soup. Just add a little bit of that in there, which is gonna help thicken this broth. So good. And I'm just gonna cook that up for about 3 minutes. Now you can see this thickening. Look at that. Oh, so good. And now what we're gonna do is we're gonna add the spinach. This is just frozen spinach that's been chopped. You can use fresh spinach if you like. Oh, so good. This is a family favorite. Look at that. Oh, it's nice and thick and rich. Again with the crushed red because I can't help myself. We're gonna add some salt, black pepper, stir it up, and then we add the liquid, and then the tortellini and the chicken. Okay, ooh, so good. Okay, so now what we're gonna do is we're going to add some milk, or cream, whatever you like. It's no fun in the kitchen if you don't make a mess, as long as you clean it up. I'm gonna let this cook down. Oh my gosh, it smells so good. Let this get nice and hot. I want the milk to get nice and hot. And then all we're gonna do is we are going to add the tortellini. If you don't want tortellini, you can use gnocchi. You can use anything that you like. And you get this delicious, like velvety, creamy soup. And the tortellini I had cooked already. So you can put cooked tortellini or you can take it right out of the freezer. It only takes about 5 minutes to cook up because it's nice and fresh. Then we're gonna add a little bit of chicken broth to fill up the pot. The chicken, which is already cooked and diced. If you don't want it, I've made this without chicken when I didn't have chicken in the house. So you can do it with or without the chicken. And then we're just gonna cook that up. And that's all she wrote, folks. So I'm gonna let that cook, and then when I come back, I'm gonna plate it, and then I'm gonna just run through this all once again. Okay, so now I'm just gonna plate all this up for you so you can see how it looks. All of this freezes beautifully. Pasta on its own doesn't usually freeze so well, but when it's mixed with other things, it freezes good. Now, this one in particular, when you take it out of the freezer, if you freeze it, I would put it in a baking dish and make it almost like a casserole. And the soup, you can just put it in a quart container. It defrosts really nicely, and the mac and cheese just is great. So here's what we got. So let's start with this beauty of soup here. Okay, I just want to show you what it looks like. It smells so good in here. Okay, so we have water chestnuts, carrots. Oops, I got the time. I guess I'm the lucky one. Water chestnuts, carrots, tortellini, chicken. It is so yummy. Let me turn this off. And we have a creamy pasta with green beans and shrimp and sun-dried tomatoes and Parmesan cheese. So nice and creamy and delicious. And last but definitely not least, mac and cheese with cauliflower. Check this out. Oh, it's so rich and crunchy on the top. Steamy with the shells. You can use any type of pasta that you like. And there you have it. Creamy, comfortable pasta dishes. Thanks for watching Fresh to Frozen and Back. I'm Diane Hendericks. Please share this episode with your friends and your family and those that you love. Follow me on social media, Diane Hendericks. Subscribe to my YouTube and send me an email. Say hi. I'll see you next time.